On September 8, 2025, a tow yard in Hollywood became the center of a story that stunned the music world. A Tesla registered to rising R&B artist David Anthony Burke, better known as David, had been impounded. Workers reported a foul odor coming from the car, leading them to investigate further. What they found inside shocked even seasoned officials. Human remains wrapped and hidden in the vehicle's front trunk. A week later, on September 16th, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner confirmed the identity. 15-year-old Celeste Rivas, a teenager missing from Riverside County since April 2024. The discovery sent shockwaves through both the music industry and the true crime community. How did she end up in that car? What role, if any, did the young star play? And what questions remain unanswered? Welcome. I'm the Archivist, and this is True Crime Stories, pulling threads of truth from the darkest knots. Here we preserve the record, dust off forgotten files, and follow the evidence wherever it bleeds. No rumors, no fluff, just a case, the victims, and the facts that refuse to stay buried. Welcome to the David case. To grasp how surreal this moment was, you have to consider both sides of the story. On one hand, you have David, a 20-year-old singer-songwriter, just 2 years into his mainstream success, with hit singles on Billboard charts and a world tour underway. On the other, you have Celeste Rivas, a teenage girl who had been missing for over a year, her family desperately searching for answers with little national coverage. When the two names collided in the headlines, the public was left stunned. Fans asked, how could one of their favorite artists possibly be connected to a missing person case? For investigators, the question was less about celebrity and more about evidence. How did the remains of a 15-year-old girl end up in a luxury car tied to one of music's fastest rising stars? The story drew immediate comparisons to other high-profile cases where missing persons were found only after intersecting with fame. But unlike older, cold cases that take years to break open, this one burst into the spotlight almost overnight. Within hours, the internet lit up with speculation. News outlets scrambled to confirm facts, and social media fueled theories that spread faster than official reports. From the very first press conference, police emphasized caution. Not all details would be released at once. Yet, in the information vacuum, rumors filled the space. This is where the case of David and Celeste Rivas stands out. It is not just a criminal investigation, but also a collision between fame, fandom, and the harsh reality of crime reporting in the digital age. David Anthony Burke, born in Houston in 2005, is better known to millions as David. He rose to fame almost overnight in 2022 when his moody single, Romantic Homicide, went viral on TikTok and later charted worldwide. His next hit, Here With Me, solidified him as one of Gen Z's breakout artists. Unlike many in the industry, Burke built his career from his bedroom, teaching himself to record music on GarageBand with a gaming headset. His DIY rise became part of his appeal. By 2023, he signed to Interscope, went on tour, and amassed millions of monthly listeners. In 2025, he launched his Withered World Tour, playing to packed venues across the US and Europe. Fans described him as soft-spoken, introspective, and deeply connected to the stories he told in his songs. His sudden entanglement in a homicide investigation seemed almost unthinkable. But as authorities searched for answers, the young star's name became inseparable from the fate of Celeste Rivas. Part of what makes David's rise remarkable is how unconventional it was. Unlike artists groomed for years under record labels, Burke's success came from the raw power of internet virality. He uploaded songs from his bedroom in Houston, sometimes mixing vocals with background noise, and yet his authenticity struck a chord. Romantic Homicide, written when he was only 17, reached millions of streams because listeners felt the emotion in its simplicity. It was a song about heartbreak, loss, and longing. Ironically, in retrospect, the title has taken on a darker association in light of current events. His second breakout hit, Here With Me, became a staple at weddings, graduations, and viral videos, showing the emotional range that made him so versatile. By 2024, he wasn't just a TikTok artist. He was headlining shows, working with established producers, and collaborating with other musicians. The Withered Tour in 2025 was meant to be his true global breakout, with tickets selling out in major cities across North America and Europe. Beyond the numbers, his personality set him apart. Fans called him approachable, thoughtful, even shy in interviews. He often spoke about struggling with stage fright, balancing fame with his introverted nature. He positioned himself as someone who still felt like a normal teenager, even while millions watched his every move. That is what makes this case so disturbing for his audience. To them, David was the least likely figure to be connected to such a shocking discovery. For true crime followers, this dissonance between the soft-spoken young star and the grim finding in his vehicle is one of the reasons the story has captured such widespread attention. It forces us to ask, how could two narratives, one of artistic success and the other of a missing teen, collide in such a tragic way? On September 8th, tow yard workers in Hollywood Hills were moving cars when they noticed one Tesla that had been left for days. The vehicle had been impounded after being abandoned on the street. A strong odor drew attention, and when employees checked the front trunk, they made a grim discovery. Inside was a body wrapped in plastic. The remains were already in an advanced state of decomposition, making immediate identification difficult. Authorities quickly secured the scene, moving the car into police custody. Forensic experts began their work. A week later, after testing and tattoo verification, they announced the body was Celeste Rivas. She had been reported missing from Riverside County more than a year earlier. The detail that stood out most to the public, a small tattoo on her finger reading shoe, which matched missing person records. The chain of events began with something that seemed almost routine. Abandoned vehicles are not uncommon in Los Angeles. An impound lots process dozens of cars every week. But in this case, the car wasn't just any vehicle. It was a Tesla registered to one of music's fastest rising stars. Reports suggest the car had been sitting in Hollywood Hills for several days before being towed. Neighbors had complained about the smell, which grew worse in the heat. When the Tesla reached the tow yard, employees initially thought the odor came from spoiled food or waste left behind. Only after closer inspection did they open the front trunk, an area many Tesla owners rarely use, and uncover the horrifying reality. The discovery was deeply unsettling even to professionals. Workers immediately contacted police, who rushed to secure the vehicle. Photographs were taken, the area cordoned off, and the car transported under strict chain of custody protocols. Detectives knew instantly that this was not just an abandoned vehicle issue. It was a potential crime scene linked to a Identification was not immediate. The level of decomposition made visual recognition impossible. Investigators turned to forensics, fingerprints, dental records, and tattoos. One tattoo in particular, the word shoe, etched on a finger, became the key clue. Cross-referenced with missing persons databases, it matched the description of Celeste Rivas, a 15-year-old girl who had vanished from Riverside County over a year earlier. This revelation not only solved a missing persons case that had gone cold, but also tied it to a celebrity whose career was just hitting its stride. Within hours of the confirmation, national outlets were running headlines connecting Celeste's name with David's Tesla. The case had officially shifted from a local missing person investigation into a global media story. Celeste was just 15 years old at the time of her discovery. She had been missing since April 2024. Reports say she was last seen in Lake Elsinore, California. On that day, she was wearing a tube top, black leggings, and jewelry. Flyers went out, but her case gained little national attention at the time. Her family described her as artistic, social, and fiercely independent. Yet after months passed without leads, hope for answers dimmed, until her name was suddenly linked to David's car. For those who knew her, the discovery was both devastating and confusing. Why his vehicle? How did their paths cross? Celeste's story is not just one of tragedy. It is also a reminder of how many missing teens in America struggle to get attention. When she disappeared from Lake Elsinore in April 2024, her family and community acted quickly. They filed police reports, put up flyers, and shared posts online. Despite their efforts, the case never broke into national coverage. Without a celebrity connection, the search was largely limited to local networks and a handful of social media groups focused on missing persons. Her friends remembered her as creative and outspoken. She had a love for music and fashion, often experimenting with style, jewelry, and makeup. Teachers described her as bright, but occasionally distracted, the way many teens are. Family accounts painted a picture of a girl caught between childhood and adulthood, eager to express independence, but still in need of protection and guidance. For her parents, the silence surrounding her case was crushing. They gave interviews, reached out to advocacy groups, and pleaded for help. But as weeks turned into months, leads dried up. In a state where thousands of juveniles are reported missing each year, Celeste's name faded from. That all changed in September 2025, when investigators confirmed her identity in the Tesla. Her name returned to the front page, but under circumstances no family ever hopes for. Advocates quickly pointed out the uncomfortable truth. Had Celeste's case received more attention from the beginning, perhaps answers would have come sooner. Instead, her story only gained national recognition once it collided with fame. This fact has become one of the defining elements of the case. Celeste Rivas was not just a victim, but also an example of the disparities in media coverage for missing teens. Now, as the world learns her name, her family has urged the public to remember that behind the headlines she was a daughter, a friend, and a young girl whose life ended far too early. The Los Angeles Police Department and the county medical examiner are leading the case. On September 12th, investigators served a search warrant at a Hollywood Hills home where David had been staying. The property, though not owned by him, was reportedly used during his time in Los Angeles. Computers, electronics, and other items were seized. As of now, the official cause of death has not been released. Toxicology reports and further forensic testing are pending. Importantly, David has not been named as a suspect. Multiple reports confirm he is cooperating with investigators. His legal team has not issued extensive public statements, but tour dates in the U.S. have been canceled, and several brand partnerships have quietly paused. From the moment Celeste's body was identified, the investigation escalated rapidly. Detectives coordinated with missing persons units in Riverside County to reconstruct her last known movements. They traced her disappearance back to April 2024, collecting statements from friends, family, and anyone who may have seen her in the days before she vanished. The Hollywood Hills search drew particular attention. Items seized during the raid are now being analyzed for any traces that might connect the victim to the location or the artist. Forensic teams also focused heavily on the Tesla itself. They examined fibers, fingerprints, and DNA from inside the vehicle, hoping to build a timeline of when and how Celeste's remains were placed there. Investigators emphasized that just because the car was registered to D4vd did not automatically mean he was directly involved. Access to celebrity-owned vehicles is often broader than the public realizes. Assistants, friends, or colleagues may use them. At the same time, the medical examiner's office began the painstaking process of determining the cause of death. Toxicology reports take weeks, sometimes months, but are critical in understanding whether Celeste's passing was the result of natural causes, an accident, or foul play. Until those results are released, many of the most pressing questions remain unanswered. Law enforcement has also been careful in its public statements. By clarifying that David has not been named a suspect, investigators are signaling caution. They want to avoid rushing to judgment before all evidence is reviewed. This hasn't stopped speculation, but it highlights the balance detectives must strike, respecting due process while managing a case already under intense media scrutiny. Meanwhile, the ripple effects in David's professional life are already visible. Tour dates were abruptly canceled, reportedly at the advice of his management team. Major partnerships, including collaborations with fashion brands and streaming promotions, have been put on hold. For a young artist whose career trajectory was only moving upward, the investigation alone, regardless of its outcome, represents a massive disruption. At this stage, the official line remains clear. Evidence is being gathered, testing is ongoing, and no conclusions have been made. The investigation is active, and authorities have urged the public to separate confirmed facts from speculation until the full results are known. Even before the identification, fans online began drawing connections. A resurfaced tattoo photo showed David with the same tattoo that Celeste had. Some speculated about a personal link. Others pointed to songs and live streams where he allegedly referenced the name Celeste. But these claims remain unverified. Authorities have not publicly confirmed any relationship between the singer and the victim. Still, speculation spreads quickly, fueled by social media platforms eager to dissect every lyric, image, or rumor. This dynamic has left investigators in a delicate position. While the internet speculates, police stress the importance of hard evidence, DNA, forensic analysis, and timelines. The gap between confirmed fact and viral theory is wide, and the public is caught in the middle. One of the first details fans pointed to was tattoos. Celeste was known to have a small tattoo on her finger, and images surfaced of David with the same design. Many took this as proof of a shared bond, but investigators have not said whether this tattoo connection means anything. Tattoos like this are common, and while intriguing, they are not evidence. Then came the music. Rumors of an unreleased track titled Celeste spread quickly. Some listeners claimed the lyrics hint at obsession or devotion. Was it coincidence, metaphor, or something more? Without official confirmation, the song remains part of online speculation rather than the case file. The most controversial claims come from Discord. Screenshots allegedly show a user named Celeste active in David's server as far back as 2022. Fans say she interacted directly with him and with moderators, and that some chats even included pictures said to show Celeste and David together. Others in the group, according to these screenshots, were aware of, or at least speculated about, a relationship. But again, these are screenshots and user claims, not verified evidence. A former moderator of David's Discord server said they thought Celeste was older, maybe 18 or 19, and denied knowing her true age. If true, that adds another layer, a reminder of how online spaces blur lines between fandom, friendship, and accountability. And it raises a bigger question. If members of a community suspect something concerning, when should they speak up? Could earlier reporting in missing person cases save lives, or at least bring attention sooner? There are also claims from someone identifying as Celeste's brother, Matthew. In leaked chats, he alleged that David intended to marry Celeste when she turned 18, and he mentioned another figure named Gus, supposedly another person connected to her, who also met a tragic end. These claims are explosive, but they remain unverified and have not been confirmed by law enforcement. Finally, a fringe theory has gained traction, that there are two different Celestes being confused in the online narrative, one being Celeste Rivas, and another, sometimes called Celeste Sissi. This theory suggests that tattoos, photos, and song references may have been mixed between them, creating a swirl of half-truths and errors. But like the rest, it remains speculation without hard proof. What we can say for certain is this: online theories can generate enormous attention, but they can also obscure facts. Some rumors may one day align with what investigators confirm. Others will likely fade away as pure internet myth. Until then, it's important to recognize the difference between evidence in a courtroom and speculation in a chat room. The music world responded with shock. Fellow artists expressed sadness for Celeste's family and urged patience while facts emerged. Fans flooded David's social media with comments, some supportive, others accusatory. Meanwhile, corporations reacted quickly. Promoters announced cancel shows. Clothing and brand partnerships were paused. In today's media climate, even an investigation without charges can put a career on hold. But the strongest voices came from advocacy groups. Missing persons organizations highlighted that Celeste's case had gained little national attention until it intersected with a celebrity. They stressed the importance of remembering that every missing teen deserves coverage, regardless of fame. The public reaction split almost instantly. On social media, hashtags like #JusticeForCeleste and #PrayForDavid trended side by side, reflecting two very different perspectives. One group demanded accountability, convinced that the connection to the car was too strong to ignore. Another urged restraint, emphasizing that no charges had been filed and that speculation could unfairly destroy a young artist's life. This division created heated debates in comment sections and fan forums. Some fans unfollowed or boycotted his music, while others defended him fiercely, arguing that without evidence of direct involvement, it was irresponsible to assume guilt. The industry responded with calculated caution. Tour promoters suspended the U.S. leg of the Withered tour, citing unforeseen circumstances in official announcements. Fashion labels that had collaborated with David quietly scrubbed promotional content from their websites and paused new campaigns. Streaming platforms stopped featuring him on curated playlists. These moves, while subtle, reflected a wider trend. Companies prefer to distance themselves until investigations are resolved, regardless of whether an artist is formally accused. Advocacy groups seized the moment to highlight systemic issues. Organizations working with missing children pointed out that Celeste's story only became national news once it was linked to a famous name. They argued that this imbalance in media coverage needs urgent reform, stressing that thousands of missing teens never see the kind of spotlight that now shines on Celeste's case. In the press, cultural commentators also weighed in. Some argued that the blending of true crime interest with celebrity culture has created an environment where public opinion forms before investigations are complete. Others warned about the risk of trial by social media, where viral theories can outweigh official evidence. Overall, the reactions show the layered nature of this case. It is not just a police matter. It has become a cultural flashpoint, forcing conversations about fame, responsibility, media ethics, and how society treats missing youth. Despite the intense coverage, major questions remain unanswered. How did Celeste end up in David's Tesla? Where was the car during the year she was missing? Did anyone else have access to the vehicle? Was there a connection between the singer and the victim? Or was the car used by someone else entirely? These questions are not just loose ends. They represent the core of the investigation. First, how did Celeste end up in the Tesla? This single detail is at the heart of the case. Was she placed there shortly after she went missing? Or was it a more recent development? Establishing that timeline could mean the difference between understanding this as a long-hidden secret or a sudden, tragic event. Second, where was the car in the months between her disappearance and discovery? Vehicles leave traces, parking tickets, toll record, camera footage. Investigators will need to reconstruct the Tesla's movements across more than a year to know when and how it intersected with Celeste's fate. Third, who had access to the car while it was registered to David. Celebrity cars are rarely driven exclusively by their owners. Managers, assistants, friends, or even hired staff might have had the keys. Determining who used the Tesla during that time could narrow down opportunities and responsibilities. Fourth, what kind of connection, if any, existed between Celeste and David? This is where speculation has outpaced fact. Rumors of tattoos and song lyrics hint at a bond, but law enforcement has not confirmed anything concrete. It is possible they never met, and that the link is far more indirect than the public assumes. Only verified communications or forensic ties can answer this question. Finally, the biggest unknown of all, what was the cause of Celeste's passing? Until toxicology and autopsy reports are made public, the case is suspended in uncertainty. Was it natural, accidental, or something more deliberate? This single answer will reshape every other theory. For investigators, these questions are not rhetorical. They are the pillars of their work. For the public, they are the reason speculation has run wild. And for Celeste's family, they are the questions that must be resolved before closure is possible. This case raises broader questions that extend beyond one artist, one teenager, or one city. It challenges us to think about how society values certain stories over others. Why do some missing person cases dominate headlines, while others receive little to no attention? Is it fame that drives visibility? Or should we be asking harder questions about media priorities? It also forces reflection on the relationship between art and reality. Fans have long studied lyrics, tattoos, and interviews for clues to a performer's personality. But when those same details are treated as evidence in a criminal investigation, the line between performance and real life becomes dangerously blurred. How much should we read into creative expression? And when does interpretation become speculation? There is also the question of justice. For Celeste's family, true justice means answers, not speculation. It means clarity about how she ended up in that car, what happened in the missing months, and who bears responsibility. For David, justice also means the chance for a full and fair investigation, free from premature judgment. For the public, this case is a reminder of our role as consumers of both media and music. Every time we share an unverified theory or amplify speculation, we contribute to the narrative, for better or worse. In a world where viral posts can overshadow official updates, responsibility lies not just with reporters and investigators, but with each of us. The story of Celeste Rivas and the investigation surrounding David's Tesla remains unfinished. As we close, we should remember that at the heart of this case is not a headline, not a celebrity, not even a mystery. It is a 15-year-old girl named Celeste Rivas. Her life mattered, and her story deserves to be told with dignity. What do you think investigators should focus on first? Was it how the car was abandoned, the possible connections through tattoos, or the gaps in the missing person search? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if this video helped you follow the case, please like, share, and subscribe to True Crime Stories for more updates as they come.